Board of Education for March 19th, 2024. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Rocky Romano, will you please? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have special recognitions presentations tonight, as well as a lot of other business to attend to this evening. So we'll begin with item A under special recognitions presentations. Pam Hodgson-Pillar, Tammy Romano with Healthy Grandfamilies.
This is kind of like a big crowd out here tonight, so I'm not much nervous.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I see that. I should have known. Well, first of all, I am Pam, and this is Tammy. I'm the,
You're the everything.
I have a quarter for you. I'm the coordinator of the Healthy Green Families Project, and she's the social worker. And we are here in Harrison County because of contingency of educators and administrators, counselors, principals, saw a presentation back in July of 2017. So we're going into our 7th year. 7 years we've been strong, going strong. They watched the presentation and they decided they need to bring Bonnie Dunn and Dr. Brenda Walmsley up here, and she presented to some of the board members that are up there now. And the board said, yeah, we need to replicate that here in Harrison County. So then our Harrison County Board of Education people got together key stakeholders. This room was full of people one day. Birth to Three, United Way, I just can't even think of all of the rest of them, but a lot of people from our county and then different service organizations. And the Harrison County Board of Education decided to sign a memorandum of understanding with West Virginia State University. So then the Harrison County Healthy Grandfamilies Project was launched, and we did our first, that was like October, November. By December, they decided they wanted a coordinator. I wasn't the first one, but I'm the best one. Donna Jo Young started it out, and she just had a variety of health issues. And by May, she said, I just can't do this anymore. But I was helping her a lot up to that point, and I knew what was going on. So they said, yeah, you can go ahead and do this. But anyway, it was launched, and we did our first session. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a little bit in March of that year. And in December, Carolyn Jones, I don't believe she's here with United Way. She was one of the key stakeholders. And Carolyn Jones, no, she's not, I'm sorry. Carolyn is with Family Services of Marion and Harrison County. And she said, because we were told you need a coordinator, a part-time coordinator for this project, and you need a full-time social worker, okay? So Carolyn, Family Services of Marion, Harrison County, that is their bailiwick. They said, well, we'll take care of the social worker if we can find the funding. And at that time, Tina Yoke was with United Way, and Tina said, write us a grant, and she said, I think we have the money to fund that. So this is one of the most collaborative projects that I've ever been involved in. The Board of Education, all these different agencies across the county, service organizations, individuals, it's just been amazing. So before I go on, I do want to acknowledge Julie Mancini, who's my supervisor, always there when I have a question and patient with me. Thank you for that. And Lola, did she come in? Yeah, there's Lola. She also is a big cheerleader and somebody else that I can turn to when we need some guidance and direction. Carolyn could not be here tonight. Did Brad Riffey happen to come in? Carolyn, as I said, is the director of Family Services of Marion, Harrison County, and Brad is now the executive director of the United Way. Those are key people who, wow, that's why we're going into our 7th year now. In the fall, we completed round 10. So we've had 10. So there's 2 components to the Healthy Grandfamilies Project. One is the social worker, and I'm going to step away here and give this over to her because she is the face of the project. She does all the work with the grand families, okay? The second component is the education component, which I get to play in the parties and get everybody together. But those sessions, there are 10 sessions that we do with them, and it's like nutrition, communication, parenting, family relationships, health. Did I say nutrition? Legal issues. I mean, topics that West Virginia State University, in their research found this is what parents said they needed. When we do next week, it's going to be on stress. They tell a story of a gentleman who was like close to 80 in the southern part of the state raising his grandchildren, and he's sitting there all chill, and he said, stress, I don't have any stress. But they had everybody do this little stress thing. And when he got done marking, he goes, somebody better call an ambulance. He had stress in his life until somebody told him. Brad Riffey, would you please come up and tell us about the United Way's involvement with Healthy Grand Families? You did peek in back there.
There's some seats up front here. You need to sit down. There's seats up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Brad Riffey. I'm the Executive Director of United Way of Harrison and Doddridge Counties. First off, I just want to thank the Board of Education and these wonderful people for making this program possible. United Way does provide the funding to staff Tammy's position, and that's our contribution. We're also down the hall. We're able to provide case management services as well through 211, and we have a few staff members that are able to collaborate with Tammy so we can serve our grant families to the best of our abilities. It's one of the most meaningful programs that we support at United Way. And again, we're blessed to have the Board of Education support, the community support. I just want everybody to know that everything we do at United Way goes back to the community. So if you are able to ever give and support our local United Way, 100% of the funds that we collect and donations go back to programs like this. So I see the grandparents when they come in and visit, it's emotional, right? Tugs on your heartstrings. I'm getting emotional now thinking about it. It truly is a blessing to these grandparents and the children. We're over 238 grand families now.
That she has served, yes.
What a service to this community. So we're grateful, thankful to be a part of it. And again, thank you all very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay. So I told you a little bit about the sessions. Since 2003, as of fall 2023, we completed 10 of those rounds of sessions. And in the fall, we had 8 participants, and 6 of those were completers. We started round 11, March the 5th, and we started with 9 participants in that one. So since we started in 2017, we've done those 10 rounds. We've taken 110 grandparents through those sessions, those 10 sessions. A lot of information. They learned about a lot of resources, and organizations and agencies who are there for them and how to access those. And that's Tammy's job. If they're reluctant to do that, she walks them through that. She goes with them. She helps them fill out forms. So with that was over 150 children. Now she's going to talk to you a little bit about the number of grand families that's been served since 2017. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Tammy and let her tell you about the hard part of this job. Go ahead, Tammy.
Well, first of all, thank all the board members for having us here and for all you do for our program. We really appreciate it. As Pam and Brad both stated, we have helped over 238 families, over 450 children throughout this community in Harrison County. I really couldn't do my job without the help of Pam and Brad and United Way. I'll just give you a little instance of how United Way helps us. So I got a call one Friday, it was right before Christmas, and I'm going to get a little emotional over this, and a family's water was shut off, and they had little children, and I called Brad, what am I going to do? I have to help this family. Their water was shut off. Immediately, he came to my rescue. He gave me a check, go out to the water board, paid his family's water bill. I couldn't have done that without United Way. And I agree with Brad, if, tell everyone to please donate a little bit to United Way, because United Way not only helps healthy grand families, but so many other organizations throughout our community. And I couldn't do my job without them. And just thank you for all you do for us and for everybody here. And now we would like to acknowledge if there are any healthy grand family members in the audience to come forward.
Any of the grandparents have been through this sessions or have worked with him? And I know where they are. They're home, they're helping with homework.
Exactly, doing grandparent things.
Satisfied customers.
Yes, so they're doing their job.
Which is where I will be as soon as I can get out here.
Yes.
They don't live with me, but they live next door, almost the same.
Yes, so we do have some certificates.
Does anyone have any questions about the project before we start handing out some certificates of people who helped us since the fall?
I have a general statement.
Pardon me?
I have a general statement,
Okay.
not a question. But I do think that you guys do an amazing job. You provide a need and fill a need for so many people in this county. And I, for one, am extremely proud to know that you guys do this and that every year you support as many people as you do.
Thank you. You know what? West Virginia State University put together a great package. I follow directions very well. Follow directions. Okay, with that, Lola, she'll let you know the ones who did graduate in the fall. And when she does visits, she'll make sure that they get those. Thank you. But you want to tell them about the book that you present the grandparents with?
One of the keepsakes that we provide those grand families is the book of When I Was Young in the Mountains, which is by Cynthia Rylant, who is a West Virginia author. And actually, Cynthia Rylant was raised for a period of time by her grandfamilies, or by her grandparents. And this book is a reflection of those memories that were created. So we give them as a keepsake of participating in the program with that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, with that, like I said, I have a list of over 80 people here. I'm sure they're not all here, but as I read down through them, if you are here, if you haven't already, the certificates are on the back table. They're in alphabetical order. And if you haven't grabbed yours, if you haven't, will you do that? And then come up forward when I call your name. And I have some people here who are representing some groups of people, so that's going to work. Okay, so we have restaurants. We have lots of restaurants, right? But we have restaurants who graciously provide our meal from anywhere from 20 to 30 people, whether it's at lunchtime that we're doing this or an evening session. They either provide a lunch or a dinner. So in the fall, it was a luncheon, and the restaurants that provided us with lunches were the Caboose. Anybody here? All right, if you're here, you come on forward. Buffalo Wild Wings. I know they're here. Chick-fil-A. Mia Margarita. And you know where these people are. They're out like serving right now, right? Some Gourmet Catering. Brickside Grill. Mountain State Brewing. And I thought she was going to be here. That's okay. Olive Garden. Outback. Are you ready for this one? They're all great. Wonder Bar. I've told this story, and some of you may have heard it, but a gentleman, when we were serving the dinner, the first round or two, and he comes by and he goes, "That looks like prime rib." I said, "It is." He goes, "Which one of you ladies cooked that?" I said, "We didn't. Wonder Bar did." He goes, "I've wanted all my life to go to the Wonder Bar." And I said, "Oh, but you didn't have to go to the Wonder Bar. It came to you." And then Bonnie Bell's always supplies us with the nicest graduation cake. Okay, organizations, United Way of Harrison and Doddridge Counties. Brad, can you come forward, please? Family Services of Marion and Harrison. You want to go forward for them? WVU Medicine. Now, these are people that they provide these neat little plates for our nutrition session that has the fruits and the protein and the carbohydrates on the plates divided to teach the children and the parents, about their new basic nutritional needs. And West Virginia Extension agencies in Harrison County. They help us. Hands of Hope is a closet at Simpson Creek Baptist Church. Is anybody here for Simpson Creek? Somebody was going to be. Okay, at Clarksburg Baptist Church, Jessica Haynes is here to represent them along with her son who helped us. He was the man of the fall. He saved us so many times with helping with little kids, Donovan Haynes. Okay, our presenters are local service agency workers and local doctors, local nurses, and they volunteer their time to come and help us. One is Stanley Lacey, Kelly Davison. Susan, you want to come forward for you and her? Kelly Davison and Susan Miller are two of our presenters. Mia Broker from our county office, one of our, and I'll never, behavioral analysts, yeah, BCBA. Elizabeth Smalls is one of the presenters. Angela White from Legal Aid. Cheryl Farley, a nurse from out UHC. Anita Horner, a retired home economics teacher. And I'm telling you, her session on nutrition is an absolute hoot. They all left with a roasted chicken one year. It was a great time. Dr. Kevin Junkins from Community Care. Susan Miller from our county office. Sarah Starkey, also from our county office. And Christopher Dent was is a recovered, I should say, drug user who just did a wonderful job talking with the families and filling them with hope. And that was another great one. Okay, volunteers, adult volunteers: Tracy Bell, Aspen Robbins, Christy LeMasters, Jackie DeFazio, John Kenny. Patty Kenny is a name that many of you will recognize as a retired teacher. Jan Frenzel, another retired teacher. Nancy Petito used to work right here in the county office, up in the special ed office. Amy Maxey, Martha Floyd, some ladies from Bridgeport, Monica Quinna, Connie Bowers, Roxanne Sandy, Annette Hetterman, Donovan Hayes, we talked about him, Haynes, Barb Weaver, Jenny Carruthers, Maria Bailey, come on up. And Maria, you were with the Hope Lions Club, or, okay. Some of these are people that helped with our fall session, plus the wonderful Christmas dinner that Brad put together. And he had people from Hope's Lions Club, from the Harrison County Assessor Office, and it was just a wonderful evening that evening. Student volunteers, we could not keep track of all those little ones that the grandparents bring with them without the help of our students. There was a young lady from West Milford Elementary, Piper Bain. She had a blast helping us set tables for the Christmas dinner and then helping out with some of the students. Bridgeport High School students: Joseph McGee, Renzi Peftel, Abigail Stewart, Eliza Perrine, Braden Stutler. If any of you are here, please come forward. And which one is this one? I know this one, Abigail Stewart. Did you get your certificate? Okay. Bridgeport High School, like I said, Eliza, Braden Stewart, Evelyn Jimmy, Philip, and I'll not say that name right. Lynn, okay. Aiden Sparks and Alana Sparks. Oh, they're both here. We could not do it. And, you know, like when we have young little boys, these big high school kids come in and it like makes their day. Okay, Robert Seabird, Mark Lemon, and Tamaya Lewis. If you're here, come up, tell me I'm spelling wrong. Kiara D'Amico and Sophia D'Amico. And then our adult volunteers, and they were absolutely, the dinner, Brad will tell you, could not have happened without them. Some of them were there all day cooking and getting the tables set and all that stuff. Randall Lynch, Betty Waddy, Nicole Alvera, Brad brought them from United Way. Harrison County Assessor's Office, would you come up and represent your people? Jeff Hathaway. These Perrines and Hathaway are very well represented tonight. Robbie Mason, Justin Winter. Is Justin here? Yes, Justin's here. And Rocky Romano, Travis Minai, Denise Palmer, and Mary Beth Alfred. And then the legal aid brought many people with them to help at the Christmas dinner too. They decorated. Evelyn McGee, Misty Miller, Caroline Critchfield, Tara Rosenkrantz, Deanna Cummings, Tricia DeFranco, Jenny Lane, Ashley Ash, and Carmen Howe. And I'll get their things to them through Angela White. Two more groups: Hope Lions Club, Martha Levine and Joanne McNeamer. and Rocky, and he was there representing two organizations. And then from CASA, Dawn Roby, and I think she had some other ladies with her, but they did not sign in. Is anybody here, I didn't call your name? Because, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to keep track of. So with that being said, would you like to?
I'd like for the board and everybody here to know this young man right here, Abe Sparks, last night took the award for the Laureate dinner for the scholarship, but for the second time, because he won it last year as well.
And Adora, and who else do we want in this picture? And we'll probably want a couple rows, won't we, David?
Yeah, so short people, come forward.
Short people.
Come on. Here in the front. Everybody else kind of fill in behind.
Okay, let's kind of stagger a little bit then. You in the back, you come here, and then we'll just continue there like that. Come on up front. There we go. We're just gonna switch places. You're actually. All right. All right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. You're one. Now a little bit. You really close here, you kind of stagger just a little bit right like that. Rock, no, I need you to kind of just. No, but just actually physically come this way.
She's used to blocking Rocky's face for good reason.
All right, guys. Perfect. Look over here. 3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
That brings us up to item B, recognition of the 2023 National Board Certified Teachers and those who achieved maintenance of certification.
Good evening. I'm Stephanie Runyon, and I'm the Elementary Education Curriculum Specialist here at the county office, and I'm also the cohort lead for the National Board Certified Teachers here in the county. Established in 1987, National Board Certification provides an opportunity for teachers to demonstrate that their teaching meets the profession's standards for accomplished practice. More than a decade of research from across the country confirms students taught by board certified teachers learn more than students taught by other teachers. And tonight we're here to honor some of our wonderful teachers that have achieved this certification. First, I would like to honor one of our distinguished guests, Dr. Bridget Phillips, who is the coordinator for the West Virginia Department of Education's Development and Support Services, and she's here with us. Okay. And now we will talk about our National Board Certified Teachers who achieved National Board Certification in 2023. Jennifer LaCasella. She works for the West Virginia Department of Education Virtual School and certified in World Languages Spanish.
Lucy Castellanos. And es mi honor, de veras. We're just talking. But Connie Bauer started the Wordle tradition, and these are all adjectives from your colleagues and what they think of you. And we have a couple other patterns that's in the envelope and then a card. You want to open the card? Thank you. Congratulations. You're welcome. Can't escape that.
Megan Scroggins, Victory Elementary School. She's certified in Lisa Williams, Victory Elementary School. She's certified in literacy, reading, and language arts. Okay, congratulations to these ladies. This year, they certified as National Board Certified Teachers. In addition to certifying, we also want to honor our people that have been certified teachers and then they have gone on to maintain their certification. So that means they went through the process once and they loved it so much they did it again. Ryan Dees, Mountaineer Middle School Music.
It's a little bit of a tight fit in the envelope, but there's a placard you can put outside your door.
Thank you so much.
And it's got Velcro, so you know, in case your classroom.
Okay.
Deanna Garrett, Bridgeport High School, World Language.
All right, tell who all the world language teachers are.
Amy Hinkle, Evolution Middle School, English Language Arts. Brent Kimball, Bridgeport High School, Social Studies, History. Matt McCullough, United High School, Exceptional Needs. Renee Powell, Big Elm Elementary.
She couldn't make it.
She couldn't make it this evening.
Family obligation.
Julia Yurgo, Lincoln High School, Korea. These are our National Board Certified teachers and our teachers that have received their maintenance of certification.
All right, guys, I need everybody to kind of squeeze.
And Mrs. Stellar, you should know how hard that Miss Runyon has been working, and Miss Williams keeps popping in and helping us too. So it's been a seamless transition.
We appreciate everything that you do, and we're so proud of these teachers. So thank you for taking the time to do National Board Certification. It's a big job to get it done.
Great accomplishment.
Yeah, it really is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's our total number of National Board Certified teachers?
Oh, that's a good question.
Stephanie, do we know, or Jenna, in Harrison?
I can tell you statewide.
It's supposed to
Okay,
go.
we have 1,218 statewide. We are ranked 14th in the nation in what West Virginia is per capita for national board. This is a very, very positive thing for teachers in West Virginia, so.
Absolutely.
It's about 50.
About 50.
About 50.
And it doesn't cost you anything except Stephanie's comp time, because the State Department pays the mentors. If they go to the trip, the candidates go to the training, then we get paid to mentor.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have them get cleared out. More seating now for the rest of the groups.
People usually leave before I talk anyway. I'm used to it.
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead. Right.
I'll let them clear out. Yeah.
I'm used to it. Hey,
Here.
at least we know how to clear a room then. Right. It's not a secret, right? A secret.
All right. Next up, item C, Thomas Ramey from Solar Holler, presentation for the board.
So you guys are getting two versions of Thomas Ramey. You're getting Thomas Lopez of Solar Holler and Thomas Ramey of Solar Holler. So you're getting double Tommy. And as Thomas is passing out some proprietary information on Solar Holler, I wanted to kind of start slowly through what solar really is and how it's affecting what's going on in the state of West Virginia, and share with you guys just a little bit of background and get everybody up to speed, pointing to a couple of projects that have recently been announced. Okay, and what you have there, okay, is information on the company. What I'm giving you guys is the first page of a recent news article that was released on another school system here in Harris, or here in the state of West Virginia. And what we are going to be discussing is the similar program that they did in Wayne County school systems. And as you guys will see, what they did in Wayne County made national news as the largest sun gathering and harnessing of energy in Appalachian school history. If you read the third line down when I handed you. Additionally, I'm handing you another article out of the Clarksburg newspaper that's just from this week about the Cabell County Public Library System going with the same type of solar initiative that I am going to be speaking of. And I'm running that out of this county. You're welcome. And so, first glance, you can see that the program for the Cabell County Board, the Cabell County Libraries, that's 853 panels, and they were able to achieve a savings of, what you see there, a large number of 853 panels. Through the investigation that we've already been doing for the work for your system, I'm here today to almost jump up and down with joy, everyone. Okay, the amount of money that I'm here to discuss that we're going to be able to bring to our system that's not going to cost 1 single cent is going to be millions and 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 millions. Okay, for the 893 panels that the library system in Cabell County has, and what you're seeing there, just from our first group of work here, we've already got over 3,200 panels built. We haven't gotten as deep in doing the analysis. That's probably maybe 20% of where we're going to be at. So what you see here that Wayne County made history for, ABC News, we're going to, my best guess, you guys know how much of a bigger system that we are. So when we initiate what I want to discuss with you, we are going to make national history in Harrison County, West Virginia, in our school system. National history. We will be the largest ever, okay, in the whole Appalachian region. My best guess is probably double of what you're seeing there for Wayne County, maybe more. So how do we get to this point in the state of West Virginia where all of a sudden all this windfall opportunity has come upon the public entities? So you guys have heard from other solar companies in the past, okay, where the entity had to buy the system. Because the state of West Virginia, and let me preface this, we're a coal state. I'm a coal guy. Anyone that says that they're not a coal person from West Virginia is, not telling the truth. Okay, we all come from coal, but the reality is this state, as with the rest of the country, has shifted dramatically. And the state of West Virginia passed a law just about 2 years ago that said that public entities could now do what's called a power purchase agreement, meaning people can come in, these big companies, and just rent your rooftops. No different than one of those businesses wanting to put a sign on the outfield fence at Frank Loria. They can come right in, install everything right on your roofs like a billboard company, and you get your cut. from the smallest of beginnings of this, that's how you have to think of it. Now the state of West Virginia has allowed you to sell the tops of your roofs for solar panels. No different than putting a billboard on top of it, no different than putting signs on the outfield fences. So this new law change partnered with Inflation Reduction Act from our federal government, okay, pulls together a tremendous amount of free money. Okay, the reason they're giving all the money is because, according to all the experts, the earth is burning up. We recognize that. Never been known as an environmentalist. Everybody knows who I am. Okay, but as I've studied this over the last few years, it scares me. Okay, I've been all over the United States at meetings, going places, and the most intelligent people are going, you business people are happy to be making the money, but the reason they're giving all this money is we have to all get environmentally friendly fast because the earth, the temperature's rising. We're not meeting our guidelines. So that's where the basis of all this money comes from today that allows us to take advantage of these types of initiatives. So as I began working on this, the biggest thing that we can learn here, and from my experience working in the school system as a former CEFP committee member, as a former bond committee member, as the former insurance agent for the county school system, okay, I have walked from the basement to the roof of every school in this county. Okay, I've worked for half the people here. I've worked for Robert C. Byrd. I've worked for Coach. I know the schools and I know our property very well. So as the person who's helping facilitate this, knowing all the excess properties that we have, that we can harness and get a look at how much money we can make, it's mind-numbing. So where we are with this, I want to turn it over to Thomas, and Thomas is the technical expert. Thomas is the leading commercial consultant in the state of West Virginia for solar. So he's going to talk a little bit about the technical end of this, but where we need to go next beyond is in completing the quote that we're working on. Okay, it's a free quote. Okay, at the end of this is no money to the board. This is no money to any public entity. Okay, the calendars are getting jammed. Okay, I've already vouched, okay, that we want a head of the line for the Harrison County school system. Okay, because the production calendars are getting full. Okay, you're going to see a lot of solar coming to Harrison County. You haven't seen it yet, but we have to teach from it. Okay, because when we do these solar things, we're going to teach our kids how the installation works, how all the vertical jobs come with it, all the new economy that is coming into our state. We're going to teach from it here with this money that we're going to earn as well. It's going to come with that. So next step of action will be to for the board, for the superintendent, whomever, to let's move forward with an RFP. At the end of the day, we've got to quote everything. Whatever companies are, whoever wants to come forward at this time and quote, great. Okay, this is a money conversation. We don't have time to waste. Okay, put the RFP out. Let's get the good look at the entire system. Let everybody come in that has an idea to offer. Let's see how much money that we really can harness and how much we can help the environment in Harrison County. So with that, I'll give it over to Thomas.
That's really tough to follow. So thank you so much for allowing me to be here. My name is Thomas. I am the commercial evaluator for Solar Holler. So before I get into the specifics about this school system, just to give you a little bit of an idea of who we are as a company, Solar Holler began over 10 years ago. We have, over the last 10 years, installed over 1,400 systems across the Appalachian region. We work in all of West Virginia, Kentucky, as far west as Louisville, parts of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Southwest Virginia. Out of that region, we work closely with municipalities, school systems, and with the passage of the Inflation Act, for the first time, we're really moving the needle when it comes to what we could do for school systems. I was the evaluator that worked with Wayne County Schools. That was a long process, many, many board meetings, not as long as this one today, so I'm sorry. But what a power purchase agreement allows for us to do, we as a company will purchase the equipment, we install the equipment, we have to maintain the equipment. There's no financial obligation from the school system whatsoever. If panels break, things go wrong with the system, we have to fix it. So how does the school system benefit? We take advantage of the Inflation Act, all of the incentives, so that we can sell you the electricity produced at a reduced rate. So your system is larger than Wayne County's. What does that mean for Wayne County? To give you an idea of the barometer, Wayne County is going to save $6.2 million over the 25 years that we will sell them the electricity. First year savings for Wayne County is $150,000, and that is a very conservative estimate. When we look at the estimates, we take into account that the electric company will raise rates at 3% per year. So we use that 3% increase to get an idea of what it's going to look like over the next 25 years. So with your system, we've already looked at 3 buildings. Those 3 buildings would save the school system about $1.8 million over the 25-year period. So I know once we are able to crunch all the numbers, you're going to be much larger than Wayne County, and the savings will lock you into lower rates so that at least the percentage of electricity you're purchasing from us will be immune to those rate increases as we see them on the grid. So how do we know what you're going to save? We take each location, we get your bills, we know what your appetite for the electric is, then we do a 25-year evaluation of the rooftop. It includes all of the NOAA weather data. We know exactly how many days it snowed at each location, how many days the snow stayed on the roof. We even add in things like bird droppings, pollen. So once it comes out at the end with an index number of exactly what the production is, we plug the production number into the type of panels based on the number of panels that fit, which gives us your annual kilowatt hour production. How accurate is that? On the residential side, we build in a production guarantee. So if you go solar with us on your home, we tell you what you're going to produce from the same modeling. You do not produce that, we write you a check at the end of each year to make up the difference. We've installed over 1,200 residential systems times the number of months that those have been in operation. We have had to write a check less than 10 times. And that was the first months that they were in operation. Trees had grown faster, things had happened. So we were able to make those customers whole. And then after that, they were fine. Solar Holler is uniquely positioned because we have over 120 employees, all West Virginians. We are the first solar company east of the Mississippi to unionize our work crews. So all of the workers who touch your roof are union carpenters. All of the electrical workers come from the IBEWs. We work very closely with this part of West Virginia. We just actually invested to open a warehouse in Morgantown and start hiring crews in this area. We have apprenticeship programs with Wayne County Schools and also with Boyd County Schools in Kentucky. That is something that we would love to see expanded, and especially in this part of the state. Tommy mentioned the coal industry. My dad's a retired coal miner. My grandfather died of complications with black lung. So definitely understand that solar is a very touchy topic for some individuals, but the reality is solar will never take the place of coal. And with the portfolio of the energy needs in this state, in this country, solar fits into that perfect. As solar produces electric that goes on the grid, it keeps electric rates lower. It allows for some of the burden on the grid to, for example, in Texas, we saw those rolling blackouts a couple years ago. That's not happening now. There's so much solar on the grid, it's taking away some of the burden that we were seeing in previous years, and it's allowing the electric companies to not have to make those big investments now. So solar is a good investment for everyone, and we're hoping that with us being able to pull together all the numbers, if you did an RFP, you would have other companies that would also come forward that you would be able to see, compare, and ultimately, whether it's us or someone else, you would go solar, save money, and be able to reinvest that money into your teachers and the school system as a whole. That's all I have. You guys have any questions?
So you said that Wayne County, saved $148,000 the first year?
It was about 150, and that was us on the conservative end. Actually, the first schools in Wayne County are going to be installed beginning next month. And one of the things that we did with Wayne County, we worked with Bowles and Rice, and I know that Bowles and Rice works with most of the school systems in the state. I'm thinking they also are your attorney. But we worked with the Bowles and Rice to lay out an installation timeline. So some of their schools needed new roofs or they had issues. So we put those on a timeline later. So we're going to stagger those installations over a 12 to 16 month period beginning next month. And the $150,000 a year, that is just going to grow. That is based on today's rate. Since we quoted that and Wayne County signed their contract last year, rates have already increased. So they're already saving more than what they anticipated. And I'm working with other school systems across the state. Tommy has just really pushed me to come to Harrison County so I could have this conversation with you.
This rates for Wayne County, had they already done any other guaranteed energy savings before that?
They
Because
have.
we've done that. We have 3 projects we've done, so I
Yeah.
believe we're all LED here, so it may, I just wondered if, because the number's going to be, obviously, they're going to be higher in a system that didn't do guaranteed energy savings in the past and convert to LED.
They had worked with energy audits and did some of the same things you're talking about. One of the things that you find with schools in any government building, you have a very high electric bill and you only have a limited amount of roof space. So when you look at a specific location, you're possibly only going to save or be able to produce at that location 30, 40, 50%. You're never going to, in most cases, offset 100% unless you also utilize property around the school. So in Wayne County's case, we were not able to offset 100% of any of the schools. And that still was able to get them to the $150,000 number.
Which is where we are very different. We do have, in my estimation, land adjacent close enough that we can do some offset with ground-based arrays.
What percentage of energy we produce from solar?
As much as possible, we would know once we ran the evaluations of each property. And what we're finding is, based on the amount of electric that can be produced at each location, you're saving about 15% from what you're paying now. And I'm not sure if your treasurer is here, but I'm sure your electric bill annually overall is probably twice as much as Wayne County's. And if we could have offset 100% of Wayne County's, they were probably going to be closer to $300,000 to $500,000 in savings.
And one other question, your company just do solar, you do other energy. So I know, for instance, in building a previous school, we talked about other energy efficient things such as tanks on the, putting water tanks, basically heating the water before it goes into the hot water tank. You know, you put those on the roof to heat, you don't do any of that. So,
No, we're at solar solely. Our CEO is, he would say he's a numbers nerd. He loves solar and loves and he's from West Virginia. He just liked the idea of taking something that we can naturally harness and save individuals money. Our first customers when Solar Holler started was churches and nonprofits.
and I'm familiar with the church in Shepherdstown, I believe.
Yep, that is the first
You were
one.
able to replace a roof for them, and the congregation really paid for nothing. Of course, that was under a different model with selling, I think, power back to the grid as a commodity. But
Yeah,
but
and one
I
of
thought
the,
that was ingenious.
and one of the things that we also do, Tommy mentioned this, we look at the locations that have schools, but you also have property that schools have been closed, they're vacant. So in the reality of putting a system on this roof, it would be a PPA offsetting your electricity. But if you have open property and we decided to utilize that and place a system there that would be a virtual power plant, virtual power plants sell the electric back to the grid, and then you make a royalty check off of the production of the system. So that's something else we could evaluate. You could save money at each location, but also vacant properties could be turned into income streams.
We usually like to divest ourselves of vacant property.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
That brings us up to item D, proposed levy rates fiscal year 2025.
Good evening, President Hamrick, Superintendent Butler, and board members.
I'm here just to talk about the levy rates. The levy rates are actually established by West Virginia Code 8116F for the general fund. They have not raised those rates or modified those rates in any shape or form in several years. The excess levy call rates were established by the vote of the taxpayers on December the 12th of 2020, and those rates stay in effect for June 30th, 2026. Of course, Mr. Romano was here, and I thought maybe he was coming for us, but he wasn't coming for me. He wanted to be here to support healthy grant families. But we take the assessed valuations that he provides, and we apply the rates, and that provides the tax, it's the tax base. So the only thing we're really talking about is the levy rates themselves.
There's no change to the levy rate.
No, sir.
And do we, this under presentations, is that on a future levy we accept them? We don't need to accept them because.
We do not accept it now. The only thing we do this meeting is that you tell me to move forward and send it to the state for their review. And
It's not on there as an actionable item, I guess, but.
it is under
Under consent,
consent, yes,
okay.
to send it to, onto
Okay.
the state, yes. sir.
Okay, then we'll do that. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, Julie Mancini, Pam Knight, middle of the year benchmark data presentation. Okay.
Okay, just making sure. What you have in your folder in this packet is the beginning of the year to the middle of the year benchmark results for elementary schools. We put this off a few times, so please forgive me if it's a little behind the times. We're getting close to the end of the year results now. But the first thing you see is it's a lilac color thing in it, paper, and it shows you where we had kids at the beginning of the year in green, yellow, and red, like your beginning, your first one, your ELA. We did have 23 kids, 23% of students in the green, and now we have 38. On yellow, we had 40. We've moved that down to 34. And red, we've gone from 37 to 27. We want them out of the red. We really want them out of the yellow. We want them on grade level in the green, but as you can see, we are working in that direction. On the bottom is the math. At the beginning, it was 13% in the green, 29% now, middle of the year, January. Yellow, it was 50%, now 46, and red, 38, and now it's only 25. It is still 25, and we're working on it, and that's what I'm going to show you next. The next two pieces of paper in your folder are the exact same information, just in different ways. I'm going to look at the one that sort of looks like string art. Okay, so you will see on the left-hand side of the page, you'll have the students who needed interventions in English language arts on the left. So the beginning of the year, you'll see kindergarten, first grade, second grade went up a little bit. First and second, only 9 and 11 kids, but kindergarten, 28. We know we sort of have a larger deficit for kindergarten and first and second grade just because they're learning, especially kindergarten. But we're getting there. I'll show you why here in just a sec. Well, I can tell you. So let me do the right-hand side too. The math, as you can see, they all went down. That means less kids needed intervention at the middle of the year than did at the beginning of the year, even though the standard of what they needed to know went up. So it's not like we're still doing the exact same thing at the beginning of the year as we're doing at the middle. The standards went up, but we're having less kids in there. So math is working, and I'm going to show you a little bit of information past that. The next sheet you have looks like this is the county one. I'm not going to go into individual schools, but the county one, you will see that if you look at that, are the domains for phonological awareness and phonics along with high-frequency words, are higher than the rest. We really think this is where we're doing explicit, direct instruction with science of reading, phonics, phonemic awareness, programs, curriculum, and it's paying off. We just have to stay the course. We can't change something year after year. We need to keep this rolling. This is last year we started a little, now we went whole hog, everything, and we are seeing some gains there. But when we keep on, we're going to see more gains on the K1, 2 so that in 3, 4, 5, even second, we can work more on that vocabulary and comprehension, because students who are still trying to figure out how to read aren't concentrating on comprehension and vocabulary. They're working on how to sound out words. So we get that under control. We are moving. If you can see in those first 3 domains, it's a lot larger than what we thought. And if you look at the top 2, the bottom one that's like a little shaded is our beginning of the year, and the one that's at the top is the middle of the year. But it is still the same information I gave you on the lilac sheet. Okay. Then if you look over on the left-hand page, you're going to see the results for math. Okay. With this, we have a little bit more work to do, but we are working with the basic fact fluency kits that we've been using, plus teacher daily routines and explicit instruction there. Our number in operations is going up, and that is our basic facts that kids have to know before they can do anything else. So if we don't get those basics done, we're not going to make it to where we want to go. So we're working on that. Our weakness still seems to be measurement data, geometry, and algebraic expression, we're going to call it something else, thinking. And that's tough for elementary kids. So what we're trying to do with that is get the basics down, but also in a daily routine, use words like angles, lines, things, patterns that lead up to that. So when they do go for mastery in the 3rd grade for a specific thing, like an acute angle, they know what it is. They've heard that word before. Everything isn't foreign to them. So we are pushing to get everyday language in the teacher's instruction of things that are coming. So it's sort of like they say the everyday math is a spiral. We teach a little bit. Teachers don't like it because we don't teach to mastery, but you keep coming back to it. That's that theory. But also telling you that we're in the middle of a mass adoption right now. We are taking all these things that we know, all this data, and we are making sure first of all, our committee is people who have decent scores. We've worked through that. People who have knowledge and willingness to go through it. But we're really looking to see what can we get that's stronger in the algebraic thinking, geometry, data and measurement, so that we've not maybe had before. So we're taking all that information and trying to get the right textbook. We're down to 5 as we speak, and those ladies are working hard on that all the time. Questions?
I'll tell you what, it's not bad. I'm not disappointed. Sorry. Thank you.
Good evening. I would like to begin. Gary Francis already has one. I have one.
There you go. Okay.
I'd like to begin the review of the middle of the year assessments at the secondary level with our middle schools. So if you'll look on the right-hand side, you'll see a packet that starts out with I ready. So if you will pull out that packet, look at your first that's paper clipped together. What this does, this shows you our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade iReady. And the 6th grade is shown in blue, 7th grade is in the yellow, and 8th grade is in the purple. What this is showing is, at the beginning of the year, where they started in literacy. The first side of this paper is for literacy. And then the middle of the year is where you're seeing the downward trend. Now, typically you say, oh, we don't want to see a downward trend. This one we do, because we're going from, for example, the top line, which is 7th grade, you had 406 students countywide in that lowest performance level. For the middle of the year, that had decreased to 358. So that shows that our 7th grade decreased by 48 in that lower level. So that's what we want to see. So you can see that all of our 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, they are all moving in the right direction in our literacy. The other side shows the numeracy scores. And again, you can see the high numbers at the beginning of the year, for the beginning of the year assessment, and then you can see how they had declined. For example, 6th grade declined in numeracy by 41. 7th grade declined by 84, and 8th grade declined by 50. So that means that we move students out of those lower areas. They may not have been moved up a whole level, but they have moved up out of where they were be considering in that lowest level. The next page you have is simply just like Mrs. Mancini's. This is just a chart showing, first of all, the first column is the number of beginning of the year students that were tested for literacy, and then their chart of their scores. So you can see how that looks when you're looking at a chart of scores against the beginning of the year and the middle of the year for the literacy. And then the same thing is shown for the numeracy with the number of students tested and then their scores just in chart form. The next piece is one that when you look at this, these are by individual school. And so you can go through these at your leisure. If you will look at the assessment, that first one, and on the first page, the top bar is your middle of the year. That shows you what the percentages were at the middle of the year for that particular school. The bottom bar, which is in the lighter color, that is your beginning of the year data. Right below that, you'll see a number. So for instance, in this one particular school, mid or above grade level was at 120 students for the middle of the year, which is up from the 98 at the beginning of the year. So as you read across there, you're going to see that there has been growth made. Just remember when you get over to those lower levels into the reds, when you see those higher numbers, that is good because the number at the top should be lower than the number below, to show that we've made growth in that. You can see where we were by domain, just as Mrs. Mancini showed you as well. And then when you flip over the page, you will find each one of the grade levels for that particular school broken down and showing you how many students what percentage of students were in each area at each time. That is for the literacy, the first one, and then the second page attached to that first one, that first school is the mathematics. And again, you can see that there were a lot of gains in mathematics as well for the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. From both of these charts, all of these charts that I've presented to you, you can see that we're moving in the right direction. Students are gaining skills. They're moving out of those lower performance levels. This is what we want to see happening countywide. The rest of your packet is the same information for each of the middle schools that we used in that countywide comparison. And you'll see the individual schools show gains in categories of mid or above grade levels, early on grade level, one grade level below, And then there were decreases, as we expected to see, in the 2 grade levels below and the 3 or more grade levels below. We still have work to do in those last areas. We need to work on getting more of those students out of those lower performance areas and into the early on grade level and above grade levels. So our progress is there. So I think that is something that we need to celebrate. So before we go to the high school, are there any questions on the middle school?
Yeah, Pam, what are we using, in the middle schools to address vocabulary comprehension? And
Teachers are typically breaking down this data that they're getting from the iReady and using that information in the classrooms.
what are we using in the classroom to address vocabulary? I mean, I remember you having, sorry, I hate to digress and go into what we used to do, but we used to have vocabulary books, where you built your vocabulary, you had, a chapter each or every piece or whatever. Or what are they using to build vocabulary and to build that comprehension, overall comprehension? What techniques are they using in the middle schools?
That would, I would have to ask each one of those and gather that information for you, because in addition to their regular English language arts book, I don't know what else each middle school is using individually to address that. If that's something you want, I can get that information.
Could be that you add
An additional,
vocabulary,
yeah.
like we've done with the phonics for could be a supplement.
Yeah, it could be a
Countywide.
supplement, it could be with Title I interventions, it could be a lot of those
I mean,
different
I don't know
things
if
that
they,
they're
if they
using each
do,
one.
like, if they're doing comprehension, like little bell ringers at the beginning.
Yes, absolutely.
Stuff like that. I didn't know what they're using to actually
They're doing that.
assist in those lower areas, because obviously they can read phonics and all that. I mean, they're really high, but then down at the bottom, I was just wondering what they did, what they're doing.
All of the schools are using something, some form of one of these or a math as their bell ringers. So every day, teachers, especially in the English language arts and probably in social studies, are probably using more of the comprehension type bell ringers than what the math people and the science people are using.
Well, we don't know if there's doing any other supplemental materials or anything like that.
I would
or-
have to ask each individual school. If you would like me to do that, I can get that and
I'm
provide
just
you with that.
curious. Yes.
I'll get you that information.
Just, it shows, I just picked out one school and, student assessed was 478 out of 519. Why are all students being assessed or what's the reasoning for it?
Some of these may not have been present. It could be absences on the days of the assessment. So that we try to keep those diagnostics to a certain period of time. But sometimes it's difficult for them to get everybody.
So there's a lot of makeup.
No.
If it's within the window.
Within that window, they can, but sometimes you have
Yeah.
students that
You
they're.
just pull your data, at some point you start
Yeah.
compiling the data.
Yeah,
And-
and they'll continue to, even after that window closes, sometimes for diagnostics, if you have somebody who moves in, they're obviously going to assess them, or somebody who's been out of school. It could be because they were on homebound for an illness or whatever.
Appreciate it.
Okay. On the other side, for high schools, if you'll pull out just the top packet, this is countywide IXL data. So if you'll look, I did each grade level on a different page. So the first one is your countywide ninth grade. Blue is the beginning of the year, orange is the middle of the year assessment. So you can see we broke it down by fractions, geometry, measurement, numbers and operation, data and statistics, algebra and algebraic thinking, and then your overall score. So you can see what these scores were at the beginning of the year and then what they were at the middle of the year countywide. And again, you can see that there was growth made, which is what we expect to see. The next, on the back of that sheet, that's your English language arts. Beginning of the year is in the blue and the green is the middle of the year. Again, you can see we started out strong. We started to fall off a little bit with that middle of the year. Okay? There were some areas when you look at that, however, writing strategies, there was growth in writing strategies in that 9th grade group. For the 10th grade, again, you can see that we made some gains. We had some losses in 10th grade too. You expect to see the geometry grow because this is 10th grade. This is when they typically have geometry. So the scores should have increased from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. One of the other things that we saw there that things kind of dropped a little bit was in measurement, and some of that was with algebraic thinking. And again, they've moved from algebra to geometry. So some of those skills they are not real fresh on. On the back side of that is the English language arts for grade 10. And you can see what that looked like across the board for grade 10.
Are they making everyone take the middle of the year?
They're making every attempt to, but they say that.
I still say that's the reason why they're going down. The kids aren't taking this middle of the
Well-
year seriously. They just do it.
I have a little answer to that here.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Good.
So for grade 11, on the math, you can see that there was a decline there in math. And you can also see the decline in the English language arts. When I saw those declines, and you can look at each one of the schools, it's all broken out just the same way the countywide one was. It bothered me when I saw those declining scores and tried to figure out, without asking a lot of questions of the teachers, why did this happen? What was the reason? And finally, I couldn't come up with anything on my own, so I reached out to Jolly McKee. We talked to the teachers who were primarily responsible for working toward getting IXL implemented in the high schools and said, what's the biggest factor? Why did this happen? And the thing we got from all of them was they felt that the students, after break, they just weren't interested. And they felt that was the largest contributing factor to those decline in those middle of the year scores. They said, maybe if we change that. Now that we have that piece of knowledge, I think that gives us something to build on. And as Mrs. McKee and I talked earlier today.
When did they do them?
They did them when they came back from Christmas break.
Oh, okay.
They did them the first part of January.
But everybody did
that
it.
time,
Okay.
yes. And now that we have that knowledge, Mrs. McKee and I talked today, we're going to try to attempt to do that middle of the year, next year in December, before they have semester exams, because some of this information is going to be a good review for them too, as they're practicing for their exams at the end of the semester. So we'd like to try that to see if that does impact, because that's what the teachers all felt, that was just, they came back, they were done, they had lost interest in it at that point in time, so they didn't give their best effort. So I think now that we have that piece of knowledge, we would be remiss if we didn't try to adjust that to see if that truly is what it was.
So you don't think giving them some sort of incentive, like on the first time, if you make it a certain score, if you do well on it?
Teachers have given that incentive.
Uh-huh. And then you don't
Schools
have to take it
done
again?
that. That's what one school tried, and the scores were not good.
They weren't good on the second time around? Were the kids that were remaining?
It was overall. It was the overall.
Huh.
So yeah, we had one that if they were at grade level, they didn't have to take the next item, or they didn't have to do all the rest of the stuff. And so that was where we were. So I think we just need to try to figure out, especially when the teachers have told us that they felt that assessing right after we come back from break, that we needed to do it before. So I think that maybe that is where we probably need to start. Any other questions for high school?
So the ELA courses in high school, are they all done on their iPads? Is that pretty much what the curriculum uses?
The iPads are that's the supplementary. The teachers, most of them are working from the textbook, but of course they have all their supplementary materials. They use bell ringers. I've seen what they've done. They are using bell ringers in the math classes. They're using them in the science classes, in the history classes, across the board. We even have, just like, for example, and I can give you this example, the Pro Start class, they do a lot of with measurement. So that's constantly being reinforced for that. The same way with your ag classes, especially where they're using in ag mechanics, where they're maybe out there working in the shop. Again, they're using measurements as well. They're looking at they're looking at fractions too. So you're looking at a lot of different things in some of these areas. Science implements that all the time. So they are always bringing those things in. The teachers have this data at their disposal to look and see where the kids in their class would be for particular kids, and then to start to look at maybe how can we address things in those classes.
Just thinking from a standpoint of writing strategies, or, you mentioned vocabulary, Mrs. Smith, but I mean, if they're spending too much time, and that's the way that society's going, but I mean, from an iPad standpoint, if we're putting too much effort into the iPad, I don't know.
At our Monday supervisors meeting, that was probably 30 minutes of our conversation. You get too dependent on
right.
technology. We
Right.
come out of COVID, we're trying to back that back, but you don't want to take the tool
No,
away.
Right, exactly. I'm not suggesting.
We got
that.
to
I'm
come
just-
to some, because
just
we
that-
are, I do hear that we have some classrooms that are on that iPad too much. So we've
Dependency
got
on that is the key,
yes,
so,
we
yeah.
become too dependent on that. And we talked about with the new adoption for math, that they get a textbook.
Yes.
So they can refer back to a textbook. I know a lot of kids, they can manipulate a computer probably better than most of the adults. It's good, but sometimes just having that textbook in that classroom to have that resource right there.
And
It's a tough, we went a long way. The pendulum has swung so far
Right, that's,
with the technology, and it's hard to pull it back, but we're looking at that.
I just didn't know
How to-
if you guys checked that out and I'll look.
The instruction should be by the teacher in the classroom, primary, and that
That's
iPad
almost
as a
secondary.
supplement, as a resource. We have a lot of times the textbook is on that iPad or the information, but.
And as Mrs. Mancini said, we're in the middle of textbook adoption for mathematics. And one of the things that we wanted to look at was, I wanted to make sure to see if we could get continuity between middle schools and high schools in particular. Because if you have the middle schools using one set of textbooks from one company and the high schools using a different set, they're not always getting you to where you need to be at the same point. So if you have the continuity of service all the way through, then that seemed to me to make more sense, because the eighth grade teachers are going to know what needs to be covered to get those students ready for what they're going to cover in that textbook for the ninth grade. There shouldn't be any deviation from that. And I think that's the way that they're kind of heading in that direction.
And part of the conversation with middle schools, we have, a lot of our middle schools are covered with title funding. So those teachers will be used as interventionists. They will be working with those those students that have skill deficits. I believe we've gotten off track with how they're used at the middle schools. They're more of a classroom teacher. They were placed there to be interventionists. That's what those positions really are, to work with those students that have skill deficits. So we're redoing what those look like in the middle schools. In the middle schools that do not have one, we have one that has an AST similar to like Johnson, but we're really looking at how we're using those, because we're having a lot of success at the elementary with intervention. And we're definitely putting together a plan to keep those, even with the loss of funding, we're going to keep those in place because they're successful. So we'd like to see that across the board.
And I think if we can adjust that, the Title I teachers and how they're utilized and get them more pulled into looking at this and providing those interventions, especially at the middle more level, I think we'll see even more growth.
Mrs. Knight, do we have any middle school, eighth grade teachers that are on the textbook committee? That's for the high school.
Mhm.
Very good.
We have middle school and high school, they brought them together
Very good.
and they did that together. Mrs. McKee and Mr. Davis, they worked on that together with both the high school.
Generally,
and
they're
middle
in
school.
middle school.
Yeah, that's what.
Yes. And that's what they were doing, and when they came together, they said, rank us your top 5 or your top 3. And they both had the same one as their top 1, which was what I was glad to see.
Elementary might be something to look into there too.
Yeah, I'd like to,
Make sure.
Get them all on the same wavelength.
yeah, elementary is not quite as easy. I'd just like to see how this goes and see, when we transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, to see how well that goes with them maybe using all the same textbooks. Okay?
Thank you. That brings us down to item 4, delegations. We have several delegations this evening, and most are on the same topic. So if anyone, I did speak to someone that was yielding time, getting time yielded. So if there's anyone else, just let me know up front. But with that, I'm going to take them in order of the timestamp when they came in. So each speaker has 5 minutes. So first up is Valerie Nicholas.
I just want to let you know that Rebecca Nicholas and Dalton Littles are both yielding their time to me. So if I make it to 15 minutes, great. If not, that's fine too. I'm glad everyone cleared out, as I was like, oh my, I am about to change the tone of this room, sadly. Okay, so this is my 3rd time here that I've spoken at this board meeting or board meetings regarding my concerns about excessive disciplinary actions towards my son. And despite my son's civil rights being violated and having a favorable decision of a due process for the wrongdoing of teachers and admin from when my son attended WI Middle School. And we all remember when the off-duty officer attacked my son on school property for walking through RCB grass. I'm asking for help from you all, because my son continues to be targeted and bullied by people who should be there to protect my son. I give my son over to these people day after day to keep him safe and protect him, and he has been thrown to the wolves. It has only escalated since I have been speaking at these board meetings. To any rational person, this looks like a deliberate attack against my son, to either get him removed from RCB or sabotage him and his education. I feel they are violating his civil rights and retaliating. Just some of the things that have happened recently, and most of what I'm about to talk about is what happened within just 1 month. And there is even more, but I'm limited on time. So I'll start with when my son simply rubbed his back on a fire alarm, and when it went off, he immediately went and told the vice principal that this had happened. He did not know that he told the vice principal that he did not know that this was going to go off so easily. No emergency personnel had arrived, and they disciplined him within school by giving him 5 days ISS and school suspension, and they still filed a criminal charges against him. I got a call just the other day from the PRO who told me my son is being criminally investigated for destruction of property, for kicking a locker. He said that he had it on video and a teacher who witnessed. A teacher, mind you, where many of the hogwash write-ups come from, and maliciously targets my son. Those lockers were damaged before he got there and are going to be damaged long after he leaves. As you can see here in these pictures, I don't know if you want to bring them up, but I'll show you that these lockers were already damaged. Dents all in them. Okay, and if you want to see those, I can give those to you. So they were all dented. And there are instances where students have kicked or punched lockers after this had happened, I've been called by the officer, and that I'm aware of, that I know, and they did not have any repercussions or repercussions. My son has had H1s filed on him and wrongfully accused. Have any of you been in a boys' locker room and hear what they say back and forth? I have investigated this myself, as one instance was a friend of Kobe's, and found that the student did not fill out the form at all, or knew that one had even been filed. So who pushed this matter? If it was not the student or his parents, and if they did not fill it out, then who did? Was it teachers, administration? Post their investigation, they substantiated it. My son now is being investigated for another one, in which he states is not accurate at all. The investigator has not spoke to anyone in the classroom as of now, and the substitute teacher that day told me himself he didn't hear exactly what my son said or seen what my son did, as my son was in the back of the classroom, which is out of his preferred assigned seating, which none of this would have happened if the substitute would have read the IEP, in which I spoke to the substitute, and he stated he was not even aware my son even had an IEP. Not to mention the H1s are supposed to be investigated by a fair, independent, outside source, but instead is being investigated by someone who's on your payroll. I have read Title IX, which just made me feel they are grasping at straws. My son was invited, in another instance, my son was invited with his class to go out to the football field with another class. My son stopped by the office to contact me briefly and walked out to the field, where a teacher who has had issues with my son in the past turned him away, and only him, and stated to the other children in the class that she was not dealing with that one, meaning my son. How embarrassing would that be to your peers? Yet nothing was done. During class, he was aggressively grabbed by the neck of a friend. My son was grabbed by the neck by a friend. My son even asked the teacher, who commonly writes him up, "Are you going to write him up for that?" My son knew if it were him, he would be wrote up and disciplined and probably charged too. At the end of the class, my son was called up by the teacher, it's been stated that they're writing him up for talking amongst his friends in a group project. Because he talked negatively about another teacher. Yet again, the IEP's behavioral intervention plan was not implemented, and my son was not even warned during class to go for what we call a cool down in his IEP behavior intervention plan. I believe the same day in the hallway with other students present during class change. Mind you, do you know how many children are in the hallways? But they always target my son. My son stated to a friend that a teacher was, I'm going to use this word, blank annoying to him. He was wrote up again by the same teacher who is the witness to the locker incident. Do you know how many children say curse words and inappropriate things in a hallway of a high school? Talking amongst their friends? If a teacher can get away with targeting and bullying, but when my son says something in a hallway to a friend about disliking a teacher, right up. One more example that happened just today was when a teacher allows a student who was found vaping in the bathroom to throw the vapes away and makes the statement, "This is staying in here." But the same teacher writes my son up for language or having his phone. Isn't it illegal for an underage student to have tobacco products? Is this not criminal? But it is, at the teacher's discretion, whom they punish and whom they bully and who they don't, because they want to push their narrative that my son is some awful, hypersexualized, bad child. Again, unequal and targeting. These are just a few instances of many, many, many more since the last meeting I've attended. How is this not retaliation, discrimination, targeting? As his parent, I will always advocate for him. I will never give up fighting for my son. My child should not be targeted, retaliated against, such as pursuing criminal charges against him when you do not do that to other students. You are impeding his learning and denying him a free and appropriate education. And it shows because his grades still have not bounced back. And sadly, he would be treated like this. If you were treated like this, would you want to go to school? to endure this, but yet my son gets up every morning and goes despite the target on his back. And so much for positive reinforcement, which is also in the IEP. These are not encouraging teachers, but yet they are excessively disciplining him and making the write-ups sound worse. They get the worst disciplinary actions, which is what my son stated. History repeats itself. And this is exactly what we endured during the attendance at WI and pushed us into the due process, which I favorably won. I plan on filing civil rights complaints, following up with his IEP not being followed nor implemented in many aspects, filing complaints at the both board and state level until I see a change. This behavior should not be tolerated within a public school who receives federal funding. As I stated before, that the disciplinary tiers is not working for those with disabilities, especially for kids who suffer from diagnoses such as ADHD, oppositional defiance disorder. My son has been an example today, but whose child will it be tomorrow? Every child should have the right to a free and appropriate education. And remember, no child left behind. I rest my case now, just for this evening. And just a FYI, tomorrow at 10:30, Dr. Looker, make sure you know, to tell me that RCB will be handing down even more discipline for Cody's statements to his friends in that class in the hall. So another suspension tomorrow. Thank you.
Stephen McElroy.
Most of the so-called criticism of Paulo Freire is in fact supported by his approach for replacing real education with political education. His true goal is to create a transformation of society from what now can be called informed individualism to a society for the common good. In other words, communism or a totalitarian nanny state. Sarah Galloway wrote an essay in 2012 whose conclusion was support for Freire's pedagogy. In the abstract written at the start of her essay, she states, and I quote, Sarah Galloway considers emancipation as a purpose for education to examining the theories of Paulo Freire and Jacques Rancière. Both theorists are concerned with the prospect of distinguishing between education that might socialize people into what is taken to be an inherently oppressive society, and in education with emancipation as its purpose. Galloway reconstructs the theory in parallel, examining the assumptions made, the processes of oppression described, and the movements to emancipation depicted. In doing so, she argues that the two theorists hold a common model for theorizing oppression and emancipation as educational processes, distinguished by the differing assumptions they each make about humanity, but that their theories ultimately have opposing implications for educational practices. Galloway further maintains that Freire and Rancière raise similar educational problems and concerns, both theorizing that the character of the relations among teachers and students and educational materials is crucial to an emancipatory education. Galloway's approaches discussion of some of the criticisms that have been raised historically about Freire's work and how these might be addressed to some degree by Rancière's work. Taking the two theories together, she argues that the possibility for an emancipatory education cannot be ignored if education is to be considered as more than merely a process of passing down the skills and knowledge necessary in order to socialize people into current society, end quote. Her last statement above reveals the major flaw, deception, or lie, however one wants to describe it, of Fiere's pedagogy as applied to the United States, which is the most free and successful society throughout all history. That statement, if education is to be considered as more than merely a process of passing down the skills and knowledge necessary in order to socialize people into current society. The deception here is that this knowledge is truly knowledge, not socializing people, but giving all the opportunity and freedom to succeed in whatever they choose to do. Whatever line of knowledge they choose to follow, to become a doctor, a plumber, or an artist, or an athlete, and yes, even a Marxist, whatever direction their talents and interests take them. I have 3 children. 2 took advantage of their innate educational talents to develop them into successful careers, one through mathematics and one through language arts. They are gifted in one area, but not in both. My 3rd child was overall the most intelligent and well-rounded of the 3. She pursued a different path that she truly enjoyed, art. It did not work out the way she had hoped, but she did find another career that she also truly enjoyed and is quite happy and successful. All 3 participated in education, having their minds filled with information, filled with knowledge by those who know how to teach. Surprisingly, they're called teachers. As children, they were not subjected to adult political issues in school. Outside of school, they were interested in entertainment as a way to relax from the rigors of real education. They may even remember what was taught to them in school, and they did. Now, children are forced in public schools to address adult political issues. It is definitely more engaging than the other stuff being taught. As a result, after school, adult political issues have become on the same awareness level as entertainment, and any boring real education is crowded out. It's no wonder student achievement is floundering. For children today, political education is seen as being as important as and more interesting than the other stuff being taught. Without politics being introduced in pre-K through 12, there would not be the awareness of and interest in adult political issues outside of school. Children would have little or no interest in online items about adult political issues. Without politics being taught in school, children might actually be normal again. Kids need to be allowed to be kids. We need real education, teaching real knowledge, not political education, creating children who are emotional wrecks. Political activists or discipline problems at home and in school, sometimes violently. Now, I've spoken on this before, and I can't get away from emphasizing it, that within the standards that are required by the federal government down through the state Department of Education's and into the counties, and therefore into the curriculum and the classrooms that the teachers have to follow, okay, which all require some form or another of political discussion. Whatever area of politics, it causes them to become involved in those things. And that is why online, they're interested in politics. Online, they're looking at these types of things. And because it's become politics through schools has become an interesting subject. And more so than real education. So I believe wholeheartedly that we need to get away from all politics in education. We need to push back at the standards that require the type of information following of politics that Paulo Freire has forced into the education systems. So please listen, please think about it. And let's get back to real education, not social workers as teachers as social workers, or teachers as disciplinarians, or teachers as social counselors. Let them teach, because they're good at that. Okay, thanks.
Toby Knight, final speaker. Yeah.
All right, so about this time last week, the administration at Mountaineer Middle put out a statement saying that please make sure your students are on time for school. They should be here by 7:35, and starting Monday, which has been this Monday, any student who is late will have lunch detention. I'm not here to argue that being late for school is not important. Being at school is highly important. Being tardy should be avoided at all costs. But if you guys look at your guys' violations for your discipline, all those violations are for violations for discipline for children that have direct control of their actions, what that policy is. There's one policy in your guys' policy that is not like that, that is for truancy. And the discipline for that is set forth by state statute codified into law. As you look down through, he's saying, but the administration is saying be there by 7:35 or they will have lunch detention. Right down from that, you'll see where it says the Mountaineer Middle Student Handbook, says the daily school procedures. Anyone arriving after 7:40 must sign in for their tardy. So is it 7:35 or is it 7:40? I mean, 5 minutes isn't a big difference, but details and stuff does matter. The traffic at Mountaineer isn't the best, to say the best, or say the least, but time does matter for what it is. It is confusing. So is it 7:40? Is it 7:35? Later on, the administration pulled that back and said, oh, there's a clarification on it. You can see on the next page, the school procedures under tardies. It says, we have a large number of students coming tardy. Starting second semester, we are changing our policy. The first unexcused is a warning. Second is lunch detention. Third is 3 days lunch detention. But then at the same time, they modified on the next page the tardy policy, and it contradicts the first one. It's the second unexcused is 3 days. The third is after school detention. So when it first started, it was if you're late, you'll get detention. That got clarified the next day with this MMS tardy policy. I don't know if this is being a little bit passive aggressive or what it is, but we go from if you're late, you're having lunch detention to now you're 3 days lunch detention and then your after school detention. I understand that we want to emphasize kids that they need to be in school on time. The law is, middle school kids aren't driving to school. It is up to the parents. Buses are provided. That is great. That sounds great. But when you have someone that lives 2.5, 3 miles from the bus stop out in Salem, they might not be able to get to the bus stop without their parents. If the parents aren't doing what they need to do to get the kids to school. It's not the kid that should be punished. That kid might have an awful life home, something going on at their home, and they're wanting to get to school as much as they can. But they're tardy because they have an incompetent parent or guardian that is trying to get them there, if they're trying to get them there. But at the same time, they are trying to get to school for better education, and then we're punishing them again that they was trying to probably get to school. We have some kids, but we shouldn't be punishing the kids. If you look at the truancy one, there's progressions on that, how that happens. You reach out to the kids, or you reach out to the parents. You do a bunch of steps before there's punishment. You don't do straight to punishment, another punishment, then reach out to the parents to see what's going on. That just sounds like that's backwards. There's some other stuff on there. My recommendation would be for Mountain Air Middle is to implement a policy, kind of like you do for academics for sports. That if you're wanting to be more rigorous for that, they can do that. But the recommendation for a more rigorous academic standard must be accompanied by written comments from the school's facilities senate, the LSIC, and parent organization. So if you're going to be more stringent than what the policy is, the county policy is, I think you guys should probably look at that and just not let the school take control, especially if we're going to be more stringent on something like this. And if you look at the tardy policy, go back to when that was made. The tardy policy isn't for being late for school. It's being late for class, going from first period to second period to third period. That is completely understandable for what he's wanting to do, because that is 100% in the control of the child. If they're late for second period, whatever the punishment is, that's what the punishment is. That kid caused that progression, but not being late for school.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no objection, I'm going to move superintendent's update down before board member comments at the end, because we do have our council here and the meter's running. So with that, we'll move to consent items. Is there a motion to accept consent items? We'll do A and B together.
So okay, now I'll make a motion to approve consent items.
Items A and B.
A and B, sorry.
A and B. Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, schedule of 2025 proposed levy rates we heard earlier. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve 2025 proposed scheduled levy rates.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Purchase order issuance to Mother Goose Land, and that is for our pre-K classrooms, correct?
I don't have any information on that. Is there something on board docs for that?
Yeah, there it is.
It's under
Administrative
administrative content,
Okay.
number of students 40, actual student count, invoice, the rate for students. You don't have that? What?
No. You don't have it in yours?
Meal reimbursement.
Must be the way it's coming up. Number of students in the program, 40. Actual student count being invoiced October 1st is 37. Rate per student, $3,250. Total $120,250.
I have that.
Yeah, I do too. Meal reimbursement is through the Child Nutrition Program. Estimated value of meals being reimbursed approximately $34,750. Total $155,000 in purchase orders need approved. And then it says next year it will be simultaneous with contract, so we don't have to do it as a purchase
The
order.
PO and the contract at the same time.
Is there a motion? Oh, you did.
He did one that just looks.
He's reading it. I'll make the motion we accept as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
And how many total, I guess, how many total facilities do we pay for pre-K? 5. That's any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Out-of-state travel study request. Is there a motion to accept?
I move that we accept it, although they're all in Pennsylvania.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We completed our second public hearing on the calendar this evening at 5:30. And before you are two proposed calendars, 2024, 2025, school calendar draft A and calendar draft D. Is there a motion to accept a calendar?
I'll make a motion to accept calendar A as proposed by our calendar committee and
Is there a second?
everybody.
Second. Any discussion?
I still want to express my concern in regards to the amount of days lacking in some first semester as opposed to second semester when it comes to secondary high school.
And that's noted. And I will say that, you know, A and D, they're fairly close together. There are some differences, but when push comes to shove, then I'll defer to a committee. And we did have a calendar committee. So with that, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Personnel matters, and there is one that needs to be pulled. It's Gerald Griffel under substitute bus driver. So with that, is there a motion to accept the personnel agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept personnel agenda as presented with the, with pulling out Jerry Griffin.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And that brings us down to legal and disciplinary matters. Susan Dideker with Steptoe Johnson is here, and I believe we need executive session. So if someone wants to give a legal.
I move pursuant to 6-98-412 West Virginia Code that the board go into executive session to discuss any legal matter which by express provision of federal law or state statute or rule of court is rendering confidential, or which is not considered a public record within the meaning of the Freedom of Information Act as set forth in Article 1, 29B-1-1, Chapter 29B of this code.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We need
Lopez has a facility update for everyone.
Yeah, all the HVAC projects that we've had, they're in full swing. South Harrison High School looks like they're on target to have air conditioning graduation, along with Bridgeport High School and RCD. Bridgeport Middle School will be completed as well. South Harrison Middle, because of the electrical upgrades that need to be done and the equipment, the switch gears, they're not going to come in until the fall, so we're going to extend their substantial completion date. But they are able to get the high school working. We also are working on taking a look at what we can do to put in a range hood, basically, or ventilation hood in South Harrison Middle School to make it a fully functional kitchen. And we are working, as of today, Mike Clark from McKinley came down because they are working on that HVAC project with Castos. So we're able to perhaps include that as part of the project. And it'll make it much easier to get completed and probably a lot more cost effective as well. But we should be able to get that done before next week. That's our target goal. So, again, I think we will, especially the contractors already on, they're part of it, it'll be much easier. And they're a local contractor. So we had 3 substitute bus drivers. One we only had partially certified. So he'll be certified, ready to go for next year. So we're able to, fortunately, we've been able to fill almost every day, every route. And that's pretty impactful for our students in the county. We really haven't left very many times that we've not been able to run a bus. And unfortunately, in our county, that is good, and we're able to run. We should get another 3 to 5 drivers in our next board meeting. So I think we're going to be able to sustain that and be able to continue not to have to park buses, because that's a sad day when we have to do that. Other than that, I think that's all I have.
Laura was going to skip over you.
He said I couldn't table
But
you.
years ago, we skipped over you to board retreat after you sat there 8 hours. I want to go do that too.
Now we have Mr. Hub with the UTCF.
Okay, we met last week on a Monday, and the under special recognition, UTC is help hosting USA skills competitions. There's 68 competitions. All of the Career Center down there will have different stations full. I believe there's in Buchanan, Eberly. There was another one.
He said Fairmont.
Fairmont. I think it was Fairmont they try to keep close. Then the award ceremony will be held at Fairmont State University that evening after all the competition's over. There will be over 1,000 kids through the building going through these different competitions. 2,000. Overall, there's going to be 2,000 kids statewide that will be in here in Harrison County, in Barber County and Marion County, competing in the different competitions over that 2,000. They said, it's great for the hotels, great for the restaurants and all that, because everybody will take advantage of those. So that was the next thing. Next thing was that the fire hydrants are privately owned by the Short Line Company, Water Board, and if anything needs to be taken care of, it will be placed, it'll be on the Short Line.
Well, then the technical center has to pay for them. Short Line abandoned them. They used to be part of Short Line, and they abandoned them, is what he told us.
So he said it would go back to
So, yeah, so the technical center, you'll see that on one of their
next budgets.
revisions to work on that.
Okay.
It's been a mystery, those.
I stand corrected.
hydrants and-
And I will-
Short line's being run by Sun Valley now. So
They were abandoned.
So they're really like-
Okay.
all we do is make sure regardless, that's our property there, not the tech center's property. So one way or another, I'll make sure they're working.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, appreciate that, staying corrected. And all, it was tough. I was having to run the meeting and also taking notes and everything. I did a better job running the meeting. Also, the enrollment for next year is now strictly being done online. They've gone away from the paper and pencil and what have you. So right now, they said that they have 387 applications for next year. And there's plenty more time. They're hoping to get a lot more kids to sign up. You know, they said it's really gone well and gone pretty smooth. And they have only lost two more students. One student moved and another student is homeschooled, and they chose not to come back. So I think that's everything I've got.
That's all I have.
We got the financial stuff from there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so the financial statement, I did not ask when we went through the consent items. I forgot about the P card stuff. I slipped my mind. Do you get the receipts for the P cards?
Yes.
Okay. Is it too cumbersome for us to see those receipts as well? Okay. I have, there's just a few transactions that I found on the P cards that I kind of wanted to just question. Okay.
You would
And
want
maybe-
this transaction list rather than the actual receipts, correct?
Well, I'd like to see what the purchases were. Yeah. I mean,
There's
there's
like my P card, is it the same way where it's going to have every charge for there?
Yeah,
Because I have a P card.
that's what I'm giving, that's what I'm.
Yeah, not the
Yeah,
actual
it's got-
physical receipt.
No, not the physical receipt, the charge. Well, no, I want to see what's purchased.
Just the charge.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Why can't you do this specifically?
Okay,
Which ones
specifically, well,
Give her a list.
I can give you a few that I found, and I didn't write them all down, but there was a charge for Bayard Mercer Pharmacy. There were numerous charges to Walmart, Sam's, and Kroger's. There was a charge to Bridgeport Express Care. Those seemed like odd charges to me.
Okay, so the Bird Pharmacy
Mhm.
is specifically for special needs, supplies.
Mhm. Okay.
The Kroger's is probably more than likely, and I don't know, they sometimes food service has to go out and get some things.
Mhm.
Like the same charge for the water, more than likely, we have the water shortages.
Okay.
And I will pull them for you.
Okay.
And the Bridgeport Express Care is more than likely has to do with the DOT.
With, oh,
That's
okay,
the-
okay.
Or drug screen.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'd like to possibly get those on a monthly basis, well, yes. Yeah, thank you. Then there were some questions in regards to the federal budget and some of the stuff that happened with the special, I guess, federal stimulus. There's a large change. 11 million remaining balance to 1.2 million. There was a $1.2 million change from the prior year.
Yes, so actually, I'm glad you brought that up. You gotta remember that in 23, they have not requested the 22 money in 22 until 23. So that amount is actually increased by $5.5 million. $5.5 million of that $9 million from 23 was actually 22 money, so it was not requested.
Okay.
We are actually, I'm going to draw this every month.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because there's some encumbrances on here that I was kind of wondering about as well.
Well, the encumbrances are also, the employee salaries are encumbered until the end of the fiscal year. So like, if you have a 200-day contract person and you spread their money over the summer months, they still have 11 pay periods 10 pay periods after tomorrow to get them through out of the 24. Because they will all be written by June. We have to actually encumber them and with all of their fringes. So the bulk of the encumbrances you see are directly related to salary.
Okay, what about the ones that are not related to salary?
Well, and the art money,
Hmm.
90% of that money, or 95% of that money is on salary.
Okay.
This is the next large purchase that we're doing out there, will be the high school technology.
That was another question I had, because there was there's $2.7 million.
They'll be coming in May.
Okay. There was a couple questions I had about the food service. I can't find it on here now.
It was less than.
Yeah, it was I'm trying to find out where it's at. There was a lot, it seemed like there was a lot of reimbursement, some of the reimbursements of the federal monies coming back to us from our food backpack program.
Yeah, it was a backpack.
Yeah, the backpack
The
program.
backpack program, most of that is actually, we received the money in the year they awarded the grant.
Mhm.
So we're just now spending. We got the
Okay.
money last year.
And that money, am I correct, that that's on for backpacks, but
I think we got the last copper this year for it.
For the backpacks.
So-
We keep those in the warehouse and it's been great.
Last several years.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we gonna start eliminating that? Are we gonna try to figure out a way to supplement that?
Before, I mean, most of the schools did that on their own, and we worked with churches. And with COVID money, we've been able just to order pre-made boxes, and the schools to order them and get those to the kids. I mean, it's quite expensive but so I guess we'll probably go back to that model of each school doing their own and working that way.
I was at Netherford Elementary and they have,
I don't know.
One of the backpack programs we run is actually at Victory, and our work program at United High School actually prepares that with us.
I was over on the Netherford Intermediate.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
They had a box
It's a really good idea.
where kids bring it in, parents would supply. There was like 5 boxes or 5 bags in the box. And as the kids were dismissed from school, 5 kids picked up the bags and carried them out the door. Because I was asked, wonder what happened, who took all of our things? I said, 5 kids picked them up as they was going out the door. Oh, okay, because they said sometimes they thought a parent might be coming in and picking up a bag.
Well, we're trying to do more after-school feeding programs too, so those dinner programs through our lunch program.
Didn't they at one time, faculty senate provide some monies for the backpack program too, at each individual school?
Well, it doesn't, I think the Lions Club, doesn't the Lions Club give us money as
It's
well?
on the different groups.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that the kids that, we have a good idea now how many kids are taking them.
I just think,
Yeah.
we need to keep going with it.
Yeah.
I had another question, but for the life of me, I didn't write it down and it escapes me at the moment.
One of the other questions you may have is actually for the special revenue fund, because it's showing for last year was 16.9 million, it's this time frame, and it's 11.8. $7 million of that 16.9 from last year was from 22, because it hadn't been drawn down at all.
Okay.
It was drawn down.
Okay. So do we have to submit, how does it, do we submit invoices to get the money from the federal government to draw down, or how does that?
So yeah, 2 different ways to do that. So state money typically just comes to us either in chunks. So we'll get like the CP program, we get that quarterly. Other state grants, we typically get the money up front. The state aid comes in, we get, it's automatically scheduled. We get a 15th, 20th, 25th, 28th allocation for each month. We get that from them for our state aid. The federal grants, they're true federal grants, we actually have to go in and create a report. It is a special projects worksheet. Then it is a general ledger detail activity with all the expenditures. It has the PO and the PO date, PO number, invoice date, check number, detail, and if there's any adjustments that have to be made to that. So let's say we misclassified a payroll cost. And so if I have to move anything to a federal grant, I have to actually do another report and attach to it with a detailed show the original transactions, and I have to explain why it wasn't so different. Some of those monthly requests are 300 pages long. So I usually spend, so the first of the month, I concentrate on getting the banks reconciled to the general ledger. And then after those are done, then I go and I do the drawdowns. So the federal drawdowns that I completed for February were done on Saturday, March 2nd. I spent the day with those.
Okay, thank you. I think it's great. I love this report. I do.
There's a lot of information. Now, the weird thing you see about the revenues up in the general fund are less last year, prior to the current year. There's a couple of reasons for that. Things were not being timely reported in the prior year, nor were they being correctly reported. When I came in April, May, I found that there were several revenues that were reported against expenses correctly instead of the revenue bucket. There's no way to go back and correct it in that same time period that it occurred. So it all shows up at the end of the year.
Yeah, I figured there might have been some leftover
Yeah, so
corrections. that might be made.
Comparisons from month to month, they're a little wonky for this current year.
Okay, yeah, all right, thank you.
We did get a draft. We do have a
Oh.
draft, so at the next
That's right.
at the next meeting, I'll present it done.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
Anything else? Board member comments, Mr. Tucker? No, thank you, Smith.
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Been a long day.
A real long day.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
So moved.
We adjourn.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.